Mr. Mayor?
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Call the November 17th meeting of the Glendale City Council to order. May we have a roll call, please?
Council members Freeman.
Here.
Friedman. Najarian.
Here.
Weaver. Mayor Quintero.
Here. The flag salute tonight will be led by Councilmember Najarian and the invocation by City Clerk Kasaki.
Please rise and face the flag of our nation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the invocation this evening. 4651 Kingswell Avenue, Los Angeles, California. Less than 4 miles from this very location where you are standing, a small mouse was born, who has changed the world and entertainment as we know it. The Walt Disney Company celebrates the birth of Mickey Mouse on November 18th, 1928, tomorrow, which marks the release of Steamboat Willie. The inspiration for tonight's invocation comes from a quote by the creator of this mouse who became a giant, Walt Disney, who said, "All your dreams can come true if you have the courage to pursue them," which I guess is an addendum to the wish upon a star corollary. Let us pray that we are blessed with the courage to pursue our dreams, and where we cannot find the courage within ourselves, we find inspiration in the courage of our neighbors, friends, and family. We are grateful for the dreams that have become reality through the hard work of the city's exceptional leaders and the community members. We pray that our dreams will never die and take us to new heights. Amen.
Mr. Clerk, may we have your report?
The agenda for the November 17, 2009 regular council meeting was posted on Thursday, November 12, 2009 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Next, please.
At 3 is presentation and appointments. At 3A is agenda preview for the meetings of November 24, 2009.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, for the Glendale Housing Authority for November 24th, we have one business agenda item, City Attorney, regarding the cancellation of the Housing Authority meeting of December 22nd and 29th, 2009. For the Glendale Redevelopment Agency, we have the same business agenda item, which is the cancellation of the Redevelopment Agency meetings of December 22nd and 29th. For the Glendale City Council meeting at 6 p.m., we have a number of consent items. Director of Parks, Recreation, and Community Services regarding the construction of Maple Park Revitalization Project. General Manager of Glendale Water and Power, relocation of existing gas main conflicting with a proposed GWP water main installation. General Manager of GWP, perform engineering, design, programming, and system integration services for the Water SCADA project. And Director of Public Works, Professional Traffic Engineering Design Services for the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act grant fund projects. Under adoption of ordinances, we have an ordinance amending certain sections of the Glendale Municipal Code relating to the installation and testing of backflow prevention assembly devices, and an ordinance exempting the Public Works Department yard recycled water extension project from a certain code section of the Glendale Municipal Code. We have two action items for that evening. One is the City Attorney for the cancellation of council meetings of December 22nd and 29th. And lastly, Director of Planning. This is an extension of discretionary land use entitlements and building plan reviews. And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Next, please.
Next, we have a series of appointments. The first is at 3B, appointment of Mr. Armand Kevanian to the Arts and Culture Commission. This was a nomination by Mayor Quintero. And at 3C, we have the appointment of Ms. Rebecca Delfino to the Audit Committee, also by Mayor Quintero. 3D is appointment of Mr. John Aspet-Tatulian to the Building and Fire Board of Appeals by Mayor Quintero. And at 3 is appointment of Mr. Gary Carnell to the CDBG Advisory Committee, also by Mayor Quintero. At 3F is appointment of Mr. Arman Ajemian to the Glendale Water and Power Commission, also by Mayor Quintero. At 3G is appointment of Mr. Ronnie Khan to the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission, nomination by Mayor Quintero. And at 3H, appointment of Ms. Karine Garsavanian to the Commission on the Status of Women, Mayor Quintero. And at 3I is appointment of Mr. William D. Weissman to the Transportation and Parking Commission, also a nomination by Mayor Quintero.
Okay, I'll start with the reappointment of Armin Kavanian. He served on the Arts and Culture Commission, and I nominate Mr. Kavanian.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Council members Draymond?
Yes.
Friedman? Najarian?
Yes.
Weaver? Mayor Quintero?
Yes. At B, the reappointment of Rebecca Delfino also has been serving on the Audit Committee.
C.
That's at C.
Item C, Mr. Mayor.
B is...
B on your list, C on our list.
Right. Okay. Rebecca Delfino to the reappointment of Rebecca Delfino to the Audit Committee.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Council members Draymond?
Yes.
Friedman? Najarian?
Yes.
Weaver? Mayor Quintero?
Yes. Next would be Mr. John Totalian, who has been serving on the Building and Fire Board of Appeal. This particular board requires that you be a engineer, and he meets the standard.
Second that?
Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Council members Draymond?
Yes.
Friedman? Najarian?
Yes.
Mayor Quintero?
Yes. Next is Gary Cornell, who's been serving, reappointment, has been serving on the CDBG Advisory Committee.
Second.
Roll call.
Council members Draymond?
Yes.
Friedman? Najarian?
Yes.
Weaver? Mayor Quintero?
Yes. Next is a new appointment to the Glendale Water and Power Commission, and that is Armin Ajamian. He is a undergrad at USC, and then received a master's degree in the School of Accounting, became a CPA, and had numerous corporate positions. His strengths are auditing and financial statements, internal controls. He's also very familiar with alternative energy projects and technologies. Also a thorough understanding of the credit and collection industry, which I think goes hand in hand with Glendale Water and Power. So I think he's also involved in a number of nonprofits. I think he's going to be a great addition to the Glendale Water and Power Board.
Second.
Roll call.
Council members Draymond?
Yes.
Friedman? Najarian?
Yes.
Weaver? Mayor Quintero?
Next is the
Aye. Just yes?
Aye.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Next is the reappointment of Rodney Kahn to the Parks and Recreation Community Services Commission. Have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Council members Draymond?
Yes.
Friedman? Najarian?
Yes.
Weaver? Mayor Quintero?
Yes. Next is the appointment of a new person to the Commission on the Status of Women, Karine Garasavian. She has a bachelor's degree, has done quite a bit of work with different women's groups and cultural organizations, etc., mentoring young women with career choices. She's volunteered with Equality California. She's led leadership and skill-building workshops for teenage girls, and I think she'll be an excellent appointment to the commission.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call.
Council members Draymond?
Yes.
Friedman? Najarian?
Yes.
Weaver? Mayor Quintero?
Yes. The final vote tonight, the reappointment of Bill Wiseman to the Transportation and Parking Commission. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Council members Draymond?
Yes.
Friedman? Najarian?
Yes.
Weaver? Mayor Quintero?
Yes. Next, please.
Next is City Council and staff comments.
Mr. Najarian.
I do. I have a couple nominations that I'd like to have placed on next week's agenda. The first is the appointment of Mr. Zare Sinanian to the CDBG. Actually, it's a reappointment. He's already sitting. I would like to appoint Zare Amirian to the Audit Committee. I would like to place for appointment Mr. Eric Yesayan to the Planning Committee and to the Building and Fire Board of Appeals. And I was just looking to the city attorney. I don't think you need to be an engineer to be
Well, I
on.
guess you don't actually, yeah.
You had me in a little panic
Right,
there. Mr.
It
Mike,
helps. It helps.
Mr. Mike Chukmakjian. And that leaves me with 2 unfilled commission seats. And I'm having a dickens of a time because I have so many skilled applicants qualified who are applying. If I don't appoint tonight, what happens? That seat goes unfilled until the appointment, or do I lose the... Do I need to beg for an extra week from my colleagues, or what's the procedure for that?
Well, the intent to have all the appointments done by the end of November is because we put in there the code provision that those appointed in November would serve until a certain time, until the council members' terms are up. So the only downside of not having the appointment done by November is that the commission that doesn't have a full commission won't be seated. The new commission that doesn't have new members won't be seated until such time as the entire council has made all of their appointments.
So that means that the council member that needs the extra time has to serve in their stead, correct?
Arts and culture and historic
Exactly.
preservation, I would be at a disadvantage at those commissions, to be quite honest. So unless there's any meetings between now and next week for those 2 commissions, I wouldn't be prejudicing their ability to meet and conduct
I
business.
think there's a couple other council members, 2 other vacancies from other council members as well, so I think...
Okay, well, I'm just going to...
So you won't be alone.
Okay, I don't want to be rushed into a hasty decision here, even though it's been 2 months, right, that I've been working on this. So I'm just going to leave it at that with those, and I'll attempt to have something next week for...
I just had a question. You said Mr. Miriam for the audit committee? I thought he was on the CDBG, and you were...
I threw you a curve, didn't I?
Sorry, Sinanian, CDBG.
Zare Sinanian, CDBG.
Okay.
Zare Amirian. I wanted to appoint him to a city attorney commission, but we don't have one yet, so he's going to be on the audit.
You said
to ask him
reappoint. I just
now.
wanted to make sure that was that was your intention. Okay.
Thank you. I have one other item. It's actually some good news, and I was, as it is lately, I'm spending a lot of time at the MTA, and I was speaking to the former District 7 Caltrans director, and the current District 7 Caltrans director, about the Glendale, actually the Arroyo Seco region equalization fund in Measure R. There's $250 million that's out there that is intended to be sprinkled in our region for highway improvements. Fortunately, when we were discussing the use of that money, we loosened up the restrictions with the intention of letting La Cañada Flintridge and the Crescenta Valley apply for some sound walls. As it turns up, we loosened it up just enough for a great possibility. That possibility is using those funds for a cap park. A cap park is the term of art that is used similar to the one in La Cañada, which spans the 210 freeway. Park on top and a semi-tunnel underneath. So I'd like to put on the agenda the opportunity to consider that and to see what some cost estimates would be, and if the council would like to move in that direction towards prioritizing some of our focus to obtain funds for that cap park.
I just wanted to ask my colleague if he would make it very clear to the public that what he is saying is CAP, C-A-P, and not CAT, C-A-T,
Cap.
as opposed to dog park or...
Right.
Yeah, so that doesn't become the headline accidentally. So.
Cap park. And then I understand that there's a lot of process involved, and we want to do this after due deliberation and input from the public and staff as well. But if we put it on the agenda, it gives us at least a start to take a look at that and consider whether it's viable.
I think it's a great idea.
Very good idea, yeah. It's been talked about for a long time.
Thank you, Mr.
Raymond, did you?
I have would like to ask Mr. Mayor if we could get someone from Well, the general topic is the Chevy Chase Country Club and what in the world is going on. We have some concerns that have been raised by the membership related to the schedule, material being used, whether the sod is actually rooting on this project, and whether it is too late to get other portions to actually root. The issue of native species and the issue of indigenous trees, I think, are all issues that have come up. It's not so much that I expect or want a presentation tonight, but I think we need to get into this and relatively quickly.
We're already preparing information on that.
Okay. Thank you. And
Let me just add, I received the same email, and also I'm looking forward to hearing from Water and Power.
It's being prepared.
very good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I have a number of things to talk about this evening. Let me start by nominating Mike Morgan to the Historic Preservation Commission. And Hank Sheets was my nominee, but
We'll be back next week. It'll be on the agenda
we're going
next
to do it next week. He was my nominee reappointment to the Planning Commission. I want to talk about two different companies that I visited. The Hollywood Production Center, which had their grand opening last week. That's the building located on Broadway, formerly the Fidelity Federal Building and later the Department of Social Services building. The company just did a they bought the building from the city of Glendale and turned a non-productive asset into just a tremendous opportunity. This is the same company that owns Glendale Federal, and they basically rent suites to the entertainment and the tech industry. The building there on Brand is completely filled. Now they readaptively used the Fidelity Fed to create the same type of business, and I think they said they already had 15 of their suites rented. It's going to be really great for all of the merchants on Maryland, Mid-Brand. There's going to be a lot of entertainment people, and they literally work hours and hours. Within this building, they've created a gym, their kitchens, showers. I mean, people will be able to go there and work for days at a time. So I think the merchants are going to do real well. Maybe even an all-night restaurant is going to do well in that area now. But congratulations to the Hollywood Production Center. Then this morning I had the opportunity to visit AT&T Interactive, also on Brand. They're kind of the tech end of AT&T, from their Yellow Pages to all of their internet type of work. They have over 500 employees. Very surprising. They're on the verge of hiring another 100, and I think it's just a great addition. I was there because they were, I think they had 50-plus Glendale students, Hoover High primarily, and they were going to mentor, or rather, they were going to job shadow. They were going to shadow the employees there at AT&T Interactive. So it was excellent. I was very impressed with the organization, very happy that they're headquartered here in Glendale. And then finally, on a personal note, let me just say that this is a special day for me. November 17th is when I landed in Vietnam at age 20, and it's actually my mom's birthday. So on the very day that my mom celebrated her birthday, I was landing in Da Nang. So 17th is always a major holiday for me, and I'm sure happy to be here tonight. Right. Still here to tell about it. I was 20 years old at the time. Any other comments? Okay, next, please.
5 is consent items, including minutes. The following are routine and may be acted upon by one motion. Any member of council or the audience requesting separate consideration may do so by making such request before a motion is proposed.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll move the consent item.
I'll second
Consent
that.
calendar. I'm sorry.
Second.
Roll call.
Council members Raymond,
Yes.
Friedman, Najarian,
Yes.
Mayor Quintero.
Yes. Next, please.
6 would be oral communications.
Okay, I have a number of speakers. I'll start with Sheldon Baker, followed by Captain Rio Ray.
Mr. Mayor, I brought a couple of my friends that I think you're well acquainted with along with me. The Salvation Army is an organization worldwide that provides help wherever help is needed, and they're always there whenever anyone needs them, and they get the job done properly. We're very blessed in this community to have a very active, involved core of the Salvation Army. And tonight, Captain Rio Ray is here, and I'm going to let Rio talk to you about an event that's happening this Friday morning. Rio?
Well, as you know, pretty soon you will see these in front of stores all over Glendale, and you'll hear this. And hopefully you'll be happy to hear that noise. This is one of the biggest fundraisers the Salvation Army does all year long. We provide shelter for homeless moms. We provide an after-school program. We do food, utility, transportation assistance, Meals on Wheels, Safe Place 24-hour hotline for kids to call. All that is funded by donations that come in through these red buckets. So it's a very important time of year for us. We're doing a kettle kickoff on November 20th at 7 a.m., which I know is early in the morning, but we want to invite everybody here to join us as well. And we've brought a little bell for each one of you to remind you about that breakfast and about that time of year. So if we could give those bells to you. The breakfast is being donated by Baxter, so they're paying for the breakfast for us. And our wonderful board members, 3 of which are right here, are waiting the tables for us that morning. So if you've ever wanted Glenn or Harold or Sheldon to bring you scrambled eggs and bacon, that morning will be the morning that they can bring it to you.
AM. Mr. Starbird, I know it's early in the morning, but we'd love to see all of you there. It's going to be a fun event, and part of the one of the highlights is our celebrity waiters. And another highlight, you have a couple former mayors of the city that were appointed to extract a couple dollars out of various people attending. One is Mr. Larry Zarian, and the other is me. And so you either pay there or we'll come after you. Again, it is this Friday morning at 7 a.m. We adjourn at 8:30. It's breakfast. Tickets actually go for $20 a person to get in. And the Salvation Army facilities at our center, which is at
320 West Windsor.
320 West Windsor. Please be there, and the community, we hope that a number of community people will join us. It's a lot of fun, and candidly, it's a great way to start the holiday season by giving something of yourself to an organization that does it all in this community. Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you very, very much for allowing us to appear here today. We
Thank you,
appreciate
Mr.
it.
Steiger and the chief. Thank you.
Well, and we appreciate your willingness to allow these 2 gentlemen to serve on our board. They're very active, and they take play a vital role in the Salvation Army in this town. Thanks.
Thank you, Sean. Joan Hardy, followed by Anna Rundle.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and City of Glendale staff. My name is Joan Hardy, and I volunteer for the League of Women Voters. I appreciate the opportunity to make an announcement regarding our upcoming forum. Tomorrow evening, November 18th, from 6:30 to 8:30, the League will be conducting a school finance forum. The forum will be held in the boardroom of the Administration Center located at 220 North Jackson Street, Glendale, California. There will be a total of 5 speakers from the Glendale Unified School District, Dr. Michael Escalante, the superintendent, Eva Luck, the chief business and financial officer, Mary Boger, president, Board of Education. Also Patty Scripter from the PTA and Michael Romer from the Teachers Union. We have all been reading about the cuts the public education system has had to endure. This forum will address how Glendale schools are financed, the current problems with financing, and what changes might be made to improve financing. Chris Carson, who is a member of the League of Women Voters, will be moderating the forum. The public is encouraged to attend, and in typical League fashion, written questions from the audience will be allowed. There is also a website that the public may submit questions to. The website is easy to reach by typing in League of Women Voters Glendale Burbank. We have already received some questions from the website that will be used at the forum. Again, the League of Women Voters will be hosting a school finance forum tomorrow evening, 6:30 to 8:30 at the Administrative Center located at 220 North Jackson Street in Glendale. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna Rundle, followed by Colin Bogart.
Good evening to the mayor and the city council and the staff and everybody at home. I know this will be difficult for you to accept, but I am here instead of Leon Mayer, who is unfortunately at home with flu symptoms that he was afraid that he would bring to everybody here. So I get to tell you about the evening with Vincent Bugliosi at the Central Library at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, December 1st. That's 2 weeks from now. And we are very aware that unfortunately those of you up in the dais have other assignments on that Tuesday, but for everybody else, we'd love to have you come. Mr. Bugliosi is, of course, a local and best-selling author and attorney, and he's been at our library before, but he's coming back to discuss and autograph his books and to answer any questions that anybody has. He has written a number of different books. This particular event, which is part of our authors, artists, and friends events, this particular one is being co-sponsored not just by the Friends of the Public Library, but by the Armenian Bar Association and the Glendale Bar Association, who are also donating some copies of Mr. Bugliosi's latest books to the library. And I would just like to point out for people that have never ventured as far as to go down to the corner of Harvard and Louise where the library is at night, it's not difficult. And not only that, it is well-lit, free parking across the street in the marketplace parking structure, and the event, of course, is free as well. So we hope as many of you as can come will come on Tuesday, December the 1st at 7. Thank you.
Thank you. Colin Bogart, followed by Sharon Wiseman.
Mayor Quintero, council members, city staff, good evening. My name is Colin Bogart. I work for the LA County Bicycle Coalition, working in partnership with the city of Glendale on the Place Grant Safe and Healthy Streets project. And I'm here to invite you and the public to attend the final of our 5-meeting series, Safe and Healthy Streets community meetings. Tomorrow evening, the meeting will be held at the Glendale Central Library, and I actually have a graph. There we go. At the Glendale Central Library Auditorium. It's going to be from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. At 222 East Harvard. As I mentioned, this is the final of our 5-meeting series. For this particular meeting, the focus is going to be summarizing what we've learned in the previous 4 meetings, confirming the information that we've gathered, asking follow-up questions, and making sure that we haven't missed anything. The idea behind this is to collect information about walking or biking in Glendale and help us shape a set of policy recommendations as part of the Safe and Healthy Streets Plan. Anyone who lives, works, or goes to school in Glendale is welcome to attend. And in addition to the free parking at the parking structure across the street, I would also mention that there is a Beeline bus stop right outside, and there are also bike racks in front of the Central Library for anybody who chooses to ride their bike. So this meeting again will be tomorrow evening. For more information, you can call 818-334-9731 or on the website, which is la-bike.org/Glendale. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Sharon Wiseman.
Good evening, Mayor Quintero, council members, staff, and anybody listening. I'm Sharon Weissman from Far North Glendale, and I'd like to invite you all to join the Glendale Peace Vigil on Friday night, December 4th, for a showing of the power of community, how Cuba survived peak oil. It's at the same place. It's the hottest venue in town, I guess, the Glendale Central Library, 222 East Harvard, at the corner of Harvard and Louise. And I have to say, the first 3 hours parking are validated and free. After that, you might have to pay a little bit. And since we have an audience discussion following the film, it might last a little bit longer. Doors will open at 7 p.m., and you can browse displays from several community groups, including the LA Bicycle Coalition, and enjoy coffee and light refreshments. There'll be books, DVDs, T-shirts for sale, lots of free information, and networking opportunities with many grassroots community groups. The film will start around 7:30 and be followed by audience discussion. The ability of the Cuban people to recover after oil imports plummeted following the fall of the Soviet Union is really a study in sustainable living. And fortunately, we can take lessons from their struggle to cope with our current economic problems, which are much less severe in comparison. And I brought some flyers that I'd like to share with everyone. If you're interested, thank you. And since I have a couple more minutes, I would say, you got off very easy. The Kettle crew, when they were at the school board meeting earlier this evening, it was like being in church. They got passed all around, so we all made contributions. So you got off easy tonight. Anyway, so thank you for your time.
Gave it to you.
Thank you. All right, next, please.
At 8 under action items is Fire Chief at 8A regarding proposed firefighter recruit academy. At 8A1 is resolution appropriating $362,000.
Mr. Starbird.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, let me ask Chief Scoggins to come forward. I think it's important to note the source of funding for our upcoming Recruit Academy, a critical program for recruiting new firefighters into the fire department, but important that we note where the resources will be coming from. Chief?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. Tonight before you, we have a request to hire 10 new firefighters for the City of Glendale. Even with all the reductions we have made over the past year and a half, and come January 1, it will be a total of 15 sworn positions and 1 non-sworn position in the fire department. We still have a need to hire firefighters due to the heavy retirements we've been having. But the funding for the Fire Academy that we're requesting tonight is coming from our mutual aid deployments that have been taking place over the past year and a half. We've accumulated approximately $392,000 from our strike team deployments, and that's after all of the salaries have been paid and all the books have been made even. There's still additional funding that comes from basically the state rents our fire apparatus when it goes out of the city, and that funding has been set aside to fund future fire academies. So this is the funding we're requesting to use to hire 10 new firefighters to support it with 2 training captains and 1 fire peer instructor for this academy.
Okay, any questions for the Chief? Mr. Najarian.
Thanks, Chief. So when we rented our equipment to the state, did it incur any additional maintenance or repair that that otherwise that $300-some thousand would have covered? Or was it just pretty routine and fit into our regular maintenance and replacement schedule?
It's a combination. We've had many, many deployments. Most of the repairs, the fuel, all those things that go along with these deployments, on these large-scale incidents, such as the most recent station fire, they have basically a mechanical maintenance shop set up at the base camp. So they take care of all the repairs on the scene. If our apparatus parts are not in supply there, we'll run, for example, we ran an alternator out because they didn't have our alternator on the shelf. So we did take something like that out. But all of the repairs that take place at the incident are charged to the incident. So all of our routine maintenance is done back here at the shop, and it's not affected.
So this is indeed a surplus.
Yes.
That we have.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you, Chief. I do have one speaker card, Mike Mohill.
Good evening, council members. Mike Mohill, resident Glendale. I love my fire department. They're good people, but they always need money. They never say they don't need money. But what troubles me is that the police department is not here asking for the same amount of money. We have drug problems up in Montrose, in fact. It was in the newspaper, drugs, La Crescenta. We got rid of our resource officers from the police department, and we haven't replaced them as far as I know. One, we take some of the money out of the fire department budget and put it in the fire department budget and put it in the police department budget. Then we can see some immediate results to fight the drug issue we have. I mean, it's an embarrassment. Here we want to be a destination city for what? The honor of having the worst crime, the worst drugs in the county of Los Angeles? What an honor. So we need to find some money. And why not get it from the fire department money? They're paid the most. They do a good job. I'm not criticizing their work. But their politics is horrible. They control this council. Every one of you up here, all five of them, have received political contributions from them. So you're beholden to them. You don't think so, Mr. Draymond?
No. For the 1,000th time, I've received no money, no endorsements from the firefighters ever.
But when it came, but you took their money, did you not? You didn't take any campaign money?
No.
Here to make a statement,
No.
Mr.
Okay.
Mohill.
No, Mr. Mohill, for the 40th time.
Okay, Mr. Draymond is off the hook on this. Okay, I got 13 seconds. Well, anyway, the point is, the fire department has the most amount of influence in this city, and we ought to take some of the money out of their budget and give it to the police department. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments?
I'll move 8A1.
Second.
Roll call.
Council members Draymond,
Yes.
Friedman, Najarian,
Yes.
Weaver, Mayor Quintero.
Yes.
At 8B is Fire Chief again regarding agreement with Glendale Advanced Medical Center to provide professional emergency medical services nurse educator to the fire department. At B1 is a motion authorizing city manager to execute an agreement to a professional services agreement with Glendale Advanced Medical Center until December 31st, 2010.
Mr. Starbird.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is an extension of existing contract. As required, we need to have emergency medical services support via, in this case, Glendale Adventist Medical and the fire department's nurse educator. This is an extension of that contract.
Okay, any questions or comments?
No comments.
I'll move the item if you wish.
Okay.
Second.
Roll call.
Council members Draymond,
Yes.
Friedman, Najarian,
Yes.
Weaver, Mayor Quintero.
Yes. Next, please.
At 8C is General Manager of Water and Power regarding Department Gold Award recognition for exceptional utility performance by the Association of Metropolitan Water Agencies, that's AMWA. And at C1 is a motion to note and file the report.
Exceptional utility performance, Mr. Steiger.
Good evening, Mayor Quintero, members of the Glendale City Council. It's my pleasure tonight to present to you a small presentation that our Assistant General Manager of Water Services, Peter Kavonis, will give to you regarding GWP's award from the Association of Metropolitan Water Districts of the Gold Award for Exceptional Utility Performance. Mr. Kavonis.
Thank you, Mr. Steiger. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, in some respects this item is a little more difficult for me to present than other items because, as you probably know in your experience, technical folks are not good at tooting their own horn. This is a horn-tooting time. You also probably associate me with the Water Department, and I wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to present this award, explain a little bit about it, but really tell you about the management team that earned this award. So if you'll indulge me, it'll take me about 5 minutes to walk you through the award and introduce the management team that makes it all happen. I'd like to ask...
I normally associate you with exceptional performance.
Well, thank you, Mr. Quintero. I'd like to ask the members of the water management team that are here tonight to please join me. Gentlemen. Association of Metropolitan Water Agencies is one of the national organizations that teamed up with a number of others to develop key management characteristics and attributes of effectively managed water utilities. The organizations are fairly large in scope and have come up with a very good guide as to what makes a well-managed utility. Associations include American Water Works Association, Association of Public Works Associations, American Public Works Association, as well as the National Association of Clean Water Agencies, National Association of Water Companies, which is a private affiliate. And they've identified key management characteristics as well as attributes of well-managed utilities. And the way the process works, for a utility to be considered, the utility has to complete and submit an application which is then peer-reviewed by managers of other national water utilities. Under management characteristics that were included in this application was strategic business planning, which the water utility had engaged in about 5 years prior to the arrival of Mr. Steiger, and I have to say with great pride that Mr. Steiger, as you know, revitalized the strategic planning approach of the utility, and so we were the beneficiaries of that, and that's explained in the application. In addition to that, key management characteristics that was considered was the measurement of our activities and the direction of all of our efforts toward achieving our goals. Finally, recognizing that we're never perfect, the element of continual improvement is also included and explained. The gentleman that you see here, I'd like to introduce first the manager of our product quality. We consider ourselves to be a public health organization that is also a 24-hour operation. So first I'd like to introduce Dan Askenizer. Dan Askenizer is the manager of our water quality, and he's responsible for not only maintaining our water quality, reducing the amount of chemicals we use to control water quality, but also, among other things, earning a grand prize in research from the American Academy of Environmental Engineers that was awarded to the utility not that long ago. In addition, Leighton Fong, is Leighton here? Leighton had, a couple of our managers have had family engagements, so we told them they could go home. He's responsible for leading, as you know, the nationwide effort in chrome research that Glendale is ahead of the curve on. We have, in terms of operational optimization, which is minimizing the resource use and loss and impact from day-to-day operations, we have Mr. David Massey and Mike Romanino, gentlemen. And they are the heart and soul of the field section that operate our utility. In addition to that, we have Craig Herman, who is a support organization in the IS for the utility. Infrastructure stability is another one of the criteria, and Pat Hayes is our principal engineer. Pat, you may have seen Pat in some presentations before. Along with operational resiliency, and we have Tim Doyle, who manages our response to emergencies, natural disasters, and safety and security. Community sustainability, reducing our environmental footprint, and our water resource adequacy, Mr. Raja Takidan. And I don't think, and we have Ray Notario, also part of our water quality management team. Ray, please raise your hand. We put the shorter people in the back. Finally, we have customer satisfaction is another one of the areas, and we have Tammy Valier and Craig Keenan who are in charge of those aspects. So with that, what I'd like to do is give you a copy each of our application, which gives you more detailed description of the attributes that earned us the award, and present you with this award. Kevin, I'm sorry. I've been reminded that I omitted Kevin Runzer, and Kevin is in charge of our capital improvement program and in charge of the many projects that we undertake in the city. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I proudly present to you the Gold Award for Water Utility Management Excellence.
Thank you very much. I'll take all the glory now. That's the way it works. But no, it is an honor, and I want to thank you all for the hard work. It's so easy sometimes you're criticized for everything, but in fact you do a wonderful job, and you've done a wonderful job. I recognize a lot of the faces, people that have been here for a while, and anyway, this is something to be proud of. So on behalf not just of the City Council, but all the residents of the City of Glendale, I want to thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank you. That concludes our presentation.
So let me just repeat. It is a Gold Award for Exceptional Utility Performance awarded to Glendale Water and Power 2009 from the Association of Metropolitan Water Agencies. Hey, Mr. Kasakian, next.
There is a motion to receive the award.
Okay.
I think it is incumbent upon me to second it, then.
Council members Draymond,
Yes.
Friedman, Najarian,
Yes.
Weaver, Mayor Quintero.
Yes.
At D is General Manager of Glendale Water and Power regarding backflow assembly device monthly program administration fee. At D1 is a resolution setting forth a monthly fee to administer the backflow prevention program pursuant to Chapter 13.32 of the GMC 1995.
Mr. Draymond.
I would like some kind of explanation. We, to the issue of backflow devices and so on, we've received, as you probably know, Mr. Steiger, a number of emails asking for a clarification. Is this an extra tax, in essence? In any case, does it increase the burden on our ratepayers and so on? So I would like to hear some kind of a clarification.
Mayor Quintero, members of the City Council, after the last award, I think it's only fitting that Peter Kavonis respond to the next three agenda items. So I'm going to defer to Mr. Kavonis.
Thank you. Thank you, Glenn. No good deed goes unpunished. Mr. Mayor, members of the Council, the item of backflow protection is an item that's been long on our list to improve the way we do business in the city. Backflow protection, to us, translates to health protection of our residents. As I mentioned to you, we view ourselves as a public health organization first and foremost, and the way to protect public health from potential contamination is to have backflow devices. We require backflow devices from businesses primarily, in some rare occasions residences as well, that have the potential to pollute the water distribution system, either through the material that's being used for process or material that's available on site. And also in some cases where the pressure on site is high enough to where it could drive contamination back into the potable water system. The goal of the program is to identify and track needed backflow devices and to get compliance. This is a cost that is borne in our cost of doing business, in our cost of service. The program is administered by our staff, and so the cost that we incur, it includes staff salaries, some vehicle expenses, the cost of also public information, because there is a public information component that goes with that. Ultimately, as you know, the utilities is revenue neutral. The cost that we incur, the cost that we raise through fees as well as rates. This cost we have been raising we have raised over time through a fee that basically appropriates the cost of administering the backflow device program to the backflow device owners, as opposed to spreading it among all the residents through a rate process. The fee last assessed was $6.08 per month for each device. And that is applied to everybody that owns a backflow device, regardless of the size. And it was last evaluated in 2002. What we have is based on the actual cost for the program for last year. We've identified the need to increase the fee from $6.08 to $8.71. The attachment as an exhibit to your package details the actual cost that we incurred. These were searched through our actual expense reports to find the actual cost identifiable and attributable to this program. So this is not a money-making proposition for us. It's simply a way of recovering the cost specific to this program and not letting it be borne by rates. The program, as I mentioned, involves the active inspection of sites and facilities that need backflow device protection. It involves reviewing plans of new buildings that may require backflow protection, as well as public information. In anticipation of tonight's meeting, we informed our commission that this was being proposed. We've also sent out about 2,000 letters to everybody that owns a backflow device so that they would know what the proposed changes are. We received approximately 50 responses. The 50 responses, most of them required clarification. We got a few complaints. And I would summarize the complaints as the increase from $6.08 to $8.71 per month from some apartment building owners was considered too much, and it was an onerous increase. One gentleman had a suggestion that instead of charging one time monthly, that we charge all the fees up front one time annually. Another comment that we got was to make sure that in locations where there's a double valve that we don't charge twice, which we don't. There is some confusion. The devices look like there's two of them together. Part of informing the public included preparing an informational brochure. I'll be happy to pass those to you if you'd like. You've all seen backflow devices. Actually, Artie, if you don't mind, if I can impose on you. Some of the devices look like there's two devices, and we believe there was some concern by residents or by business owners that they would be charged double for checking a device that looks like that. And in reality, we consider that what you see in red is a single device that requires its own testing, but it only gets charged one fee. In this particular case, it would be $8.71 a month if you were to approve it. The program that we have in place today, and the way it would be modified if you were to approve the changes in the ordinance, is a very standard program. I actually queried utilities nationwide, and the responses I got from 60 of them is that they all have a very similar program as the one that we do. They all pass along the cost to the backflow device owners. And our process is to send notification to the device owners in time for them to get their device tested by a licensed plumber, and we send them a list of licensed plumbers so that they don't have to worry about who is licensed and who isn't. We also send them the form that they have to fill out, and then it's their responsibility to have their device tested, and their plumber turns in their certification. And this program works really well, actually. We have over 90% compliance of the owners of backflow devices. We track that to make sure that our goal is 100%. The 10% that doesn't comply, in some cases, it's actually an honest misunderstanding of the requirements, and then a second notification is sent and clarifies that. Sometimes, however, we find some backflow device owners are simply refusing to pay the fee. And that puts us in a very difficult situation. We don't like to shut service off, but we need to protect the water quality in the system. That 10% of non-compliant backflow device owners is really increasing the cost of our program because they require a second notification, in some case letters, in some case consideration where we have to ask Mr. Steiger or perhaps the city manager to make a call and say, please have your devices tested because it would be embarrassing for everyone if your water service gets shut off. And what we're proposing as a change is that we simply eliminate the second notice. We add a little bit of firmness to the Glendale Municipal Code. And then we give GWP the authority to, instead of just waiting for the owner to have the device tested, to simply have the authority to go out and get a plumber and have it tested so the business can stay fully serviced with water, and then we simply pass on the cost to them if we've had to hire a plumber and we've done the testing. And we would be passing on only the actual cost. We think that will eliminate staff time that is spent on chasing around the 10% that don't comply. We think we would get better compliance out of it, and it would lead to a much better administered program.
I had questions about, I guess there was a misconception that if there were one or more devices that they'd be charged for each individual. It's not necessarily the case from what you're...
No, as I mentioned, a device that's shown in red here,
Right.
it would be, that's
one.
one device.
Right.
And so that device would be charged one. I mean, it wouldn't make sense otherwise.
But Mr. Mayor, in the case of, I think, an email you received, they actually do have something like 42 separate devices because they have a large number of open space irrigation areas. As a result, they do have 42, and each of those gets a separate fee under the program.
Right.
And each of those, each one of those imposes a burden on us because it's not enough that a device simply gets installed, but we need to go physically verify that the device is still there and that the conditions surrounding that device have not changed, so that a different device perhaps is not needed beyond the annual testing by a licensed plumber. So
in addition to the letter we send out, we do pay a visit to the various sites every year.
Oh yes, we have to.
Okay.
And that's part of our program.
I think that was also implied in the email. The thought was you're charging me all of this to send me one letter a year to remind me to have it inspected, and there's more to this program than just keeping track of the devices and sending an annual letter out.
Right.
Mr. Trayman.
So as a follow-up, just to make sure I'm clear, so the cost of this is not passed on to the ratepayers in Glendale as a whole. It is a cost that's borne by the entity, whether it's an association or an individual owner of some sort that actually has the device.
Correct.
And it is not a revenue in the sense that it is paying for the cost of the actual administration of the oversight and sending the personnel.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Najarian.
I have a question, and thanks for the brochure, Peter, because it makes it a little bit more clear as to what it is, and just so the folks at home wondering about backflow. When you first talked about backflow, I think we're most familiar with perhaps a sewer line backflow device, perhaps an example that where this is useful is in buildings that have sprinklers. The water is charged in those sprinkler lines and may well be there that way for years and years and years. And that water can become very non-potable, full of bacteria, etc. And that's connected to a water line, which usually has positive pressure against it. But in the event there's a drop in pressure on the water line, that other dirty water could flow backwards and into our water system and affect many people along that line once the water again is recharged to positive flow. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay, I'm glad I understand that, because it's critical. I mean, it's an important safety and health issue that obviously there's ordinances requiring the installation and the maintenance and the inspection of them. So now I understand it.
Okay, I have one card. Mike Mohill.
Mr. Mayor, before Mr. Mohill gets up, items D and E are related. D is the ordinance, those changes that Mr. Kavunas was referring to in his report. So maybe if Mayor wants, you can have that read into the record as well, and then the comments can be made on the entire package together.
Sure. Why don't you read 8E into the record?
8E is General Manager of Glendale Water and Power regarding amendment to Section 2.72.140 and Chapter 13.32 of the Glendale Municipal Code 1995 regarding the installation and testing of backflow prevention assembly devices. At E1 is an ordinance for introduction amending Glendale Municipal Code 1995 regarding notification of annual testing and associated penalties for failure to meet backflow prevention assembly devices testing requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Just one point I'd like to clarify is the reason there's two items is up until now, the fee for the backflow device testing or the backflow device ownership is part of the municipal code. What we're proposing is to separate that, set that as a resolution that's a little bit easier to modify, although still well within City Council's control. Our expectation would be that every couple of years would review actual costs and would come back and recommend a change in the fee. It's not good practice for our utility to wait 6 years to update a fee.
Okay, Mike Mohill.
Good evening, council members. Mike Mohill, resident of Glendale. I think I should be speaking for the apartment owners or the builders of the city of Glendale right now, because I read in Vanguard this week about this backflow thing. I didn't understand a word of it. So I called up Barry Allen. I says, Barry, what's going on here? Is the city trying to make some more money? He said, absolutely, Mike. I says, well, I don't understand. Who can I speak with on this particular item? He says, call up R.M. Kazarzian, the former council-elect person. Okay? And I spoke with him for about 5-10 minutes. He says, Mike, it's a ripoff. He says, you know, in the city of L.A., they don't charge a dime for these devices. He says, you know, if you went ahead and outsourced it, you can do it for half the price. You don't need government employees who get a pension also. Get a non-government employee, someone who doesn't work for the GWP, and do it that way, and save us money. We want to be business friendly, and this is not business friendly. I don't understand it, and I went to college, if that means anything. The point is, you know, and unfortunately, by the way, I have more notes. I think Mr. Aram told me that he's paying $900 a month for his devices. $900 a device. Wouldn't it be nice if we can do it for half of that? We don't need to charge them, the owners and the builders. Why don't we outsource this? How difficult would that be? I'll do it for you. I'll do it for free. I'll do everything for free for the city. You know that. Thank you. Please don't pass this one. Throw it out where it belongs. Tell them to get a real job, GWP.
Mr. Draymond.
Okay, $900 per device per month. That's what we were just asked. It's on the record. Mr. Kavunas, Mr. Steiger, can you please explain? Because I'd like to understand this too, but I want to go to a more informed source. So if you could help me.
Mr. Draymond, I'll give you the best explanation I can under the circumstances. I believe Mr. Mohill is referring to Mr. Kazazian,
yes,
who represents an HOA that has approximately 30.
Rancho San Rafael Homeowners Association. It's not Mr. Kazazian himself.
Of course. He has, I believe, approximately 30 backflow devices. Yeah. And those devices would be charged the current fee of $6.08 per device per month.
Not $900?
Well, I suppose if you multiply the two, it
and not $900 a month.
It would be $900 per month for 30 devices.
Yes,
not per device.
Not per device.
I'm sorry. Okay.
If it's $8.71 per device,
it's $6.08 currently.
Okay, but the new rate would be $8.71 times 30 devices is $261 a month, or $3,136 a year for what is acres and acres of open space irrigation through 30 different backflow devices.
We don't have a special rate for that association. No. It's the same rate that's applied for everyone.
What about the outsourcing of this? How would that save us money, or would it?
There's a cost to be incurred. Ultimately, the program needs to be managed by the city, in this case by the utility. So either we're managing staff to do this, or we're managing a consultant to do this. In this case, we use staff part-time. The other part of their time is spent on water quality issues. So it's staff that we have that is familiar, that is certified in backflow device testing. Part of the services that they also perform is to test all of GWP's backflow devices, because we have backflow devices as well. We could, I suppose we could contract out the backflow device testing citywide and hire a licensed plumber to go around all 2,000 devices and test them. But that's a cost that the utility would bear as well and would have to get passed on. From our perspective, it makes more sense to have some core knowledge in-house. And, this is basically carried out by 3 employees on a part-time basis to administer the program. I don't believe that we would save money, although we could certainly look into that if the council would like us to.
All right, one last question, Mr. Mayor, and that is, what would be the savings to the city if we took Mr. Mohill up on his offer to simply hire him to do the whole project free of charge? And before you answer, let me remind you that he has also asked and offered to perform the services of the city treasurer free of charge. So some of his time is taken up already.
Well, Mr. City Manager, I think this is your cue. I'm in a corner here.
You really want a response?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
No, I'm going to just hold my comments.
Okay, I'm not interested. I think this is a very important task that for the sprinklers and for all, as you mentioned in the report, the possibility of actual contamination of water in some specific settings. So obviously it is important. No one wants to raise fees and no one wants to pay them, but how long has it been? How many years?
2002.
Since 2002. So I plan on voting for it.
Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, you mentioned sprinklers. You were referring to fire sprinkler systems. This does not affect your typical single-family residential backflow devices on your sprinkler system. Those are not part of this. They're not charged or not inspected.
Right. I was thinking more of the industrial applications along San Fernando Road where you've got factories, you've got a number of different things going on. So it's more than just sprinklers in the ground. It's also industrial setting, manufacturing, and then the fire sprinklers. Okay, Mr. Najarian?
Mr. Mayor, I'll move 8D1 and 8E1.
Well, move 8D1 and then someone introduce the ordinance at 81.
Okay, I need a second.
Would you like to amend that to moving it and
I will amend that
introduce
to moving the ordinance at 8E1.
Okay, you introduced. Councilmember Najarian has introduced the ordinance at 81, and he has moved 8D1.
And I will supply the second.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Councilmembers Raymond?
Yes.
Friedman? Najarian?
Yes.
Weaver? Mayor Quintero?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next, please.
8F is General Manager of Glendale Water and Power regarding proposed exemption of Public Works Yard Recycle Water Extension projects from GMC Section 13.28.190F. At 8F1 is an ordinance for introduction.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, the question here was over a card submitted by Mr. Mohill. I think you tried to submit it before you acted on 8D, but it came in late.
That was too late.
It was actually submitted right as the vote was occurring.
Right.
Spoke on
What? Yeah, he spoke on it already.
You spoke on the 8D.
Okay, but he submitted another card.
Yeah.
Right, but we were in the middle of the vote. Right, next, please, 8F.
8F, I already read that into the record. It's an ordinance for introduction.
Okay, Mr. Starbird.
Let me go again to Mr. Steiger, General Manager of GWP.
Steiger.
Mayor Quintero, members of the Glendale City Council. This is a very simple request to amend existing regulation to allow fire hydrants at the Public Works Yard in order to allow for the use of recycled water for various utilizations in public works. So it's just a simple. Normally, we would not allow fire hydrants in those locations. So this is to allow for the use of recycled water.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, this is not hydrants across the city. This is two in a particular location at the Public Works Yard where they'll be controlled.
Excuse me, if I just might add to spread the credit here, those two hydrants, one is for use by the Public Works Department in our various activities. The other is actually going to be located at the Fire Training Center, which is within the Public Works corporate yard. The fire department is going to be using reclaimed water in a lot of their training and academy activities. So that's, together, a great reduction in potable water usage over what we currently do.
Okay, I have one card, Mike Mohill.
Mike Mohill, resident, Glendale. Afternoon. We're talking about water again, backflows. Our licensed plumber, Mo Plumbing, big company in this town, charges $85 an hour. What does a city employee get paid per hour?
Yeah.
Okay, and also, I would do the treasurer's job because he said the recession was over last week, and ask the people who are unemployed right now if the recession is over.
Jamal Hill, you got to stick to 8F. All right, thank you very much. Any other comments? I need someone to...
I'll move 8F, Mr. Mayor.
That's
8F1.
an ordinance, so you'll introduce...
I'll introduce the ordinance at 8F1.
Okay, the ordinance has been introduced. Next, please.
That brings us back to oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. There will be each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Council may question or respond to a speaker, but there will be no debate or decision, and the matter may be referred to staff for investigation and report from the city manager.
Okay, we'll start with Carol Welling, followed by Margaret Hammond.
Good evening, Council. I haven't been here in a while. I feel like I've been missing out. Anyway, my name is Carol Welling, and I'm a resident of the city. And on November 8th, I sent an email to all of you about an area of the city, North Brand, north of Glen Oaks. There's a pocket there that is asphalt and trash and weeds and dirt. It's just a mess. I don't know why that has never been attended to. But anyway, so I was a little upset that nobody answered, and then I thought, well, maybe it's a better idea that I come down here and put it into the record, which I'm going to give it to Artie to go into the record. And then I've had time to actually look all the way up North Brand. And what you see there is just paint. They've painted the median. Where if you look on South Brand, we have lovely landscaping. And so I'm here tonight to ask the council, which I think everyone agrees, that we're all in for, enhancing and landscaping. And so that's why I'm here. And these areas that are there, that are just paint, I think I'd like to draw to your attention, since I've lived in the city a long time, that some of you may know and some of you may not know, that's a ticket trap. Because if you're driving up either north or south and you see a parking spot on the other side and you cross over that median, that is a illegal U-turn. And know from personal experience. Anyway, it is illegal, and I think it should be eliminated. I think we need to do better. If you look at North Brand, it's the people that live in North Brand, up North Brand, paying their property taxes, and there's been a lot of focus on the South, as we all know, which is nice. So I'm just here to emphasize that. I'd like the city to put some landscaping in there, and I know the fire department's up there, but I think you can work around that. I think any of you go up there, you'll see that there's something that needs to be done. There's one other thing I want to bring up that I did bring up to the director of parks. When you cross Brand at Glen Oaks, it's very wide and extensive, and you usually can't get all the way across. So people will stop in the middle. Well, my husband went and checked on that area, and it was absolutely, totally inches thick with cigarette butts. So I don't know what you can do about all this, but I'd like some focus on North Brand. And if you need any sort of guidance as what to do, look on South Brand, because it's beautiful down there. And I want to thank you all very much for listening to me, and the best of holidays for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Margaret Hammond.
Good evening, Mayor. You're leaving. Members of the council, staff, and the audience. Okay, my name is Margaret Hammond. I'm back to the big item pickup phone number 818-548-3916, www.glendalewaste.com, and it seems to be working. The streets seem to be cleaner. Last week I spoke about the CBS TV investigation and photos of several cities' intersections where the red light photo camera program had been installed. The result of the survey was not favorable. Did anyone check on that on the CBS.com red light photo? There were 3 times they said or showed or reported 3 times the accidents that there had been before. And, you know, especially since we're going into a $700,000 contract with the exact same firm that these cities have all been contracted with. All right. And so, once again, I want to bring to your attention that the sign ordinance should be continued in force, and that the variance for Americana and Glendale Galleria should not be given, especially since Mr. Caruso stated in the lawsuit that he filed against the Glendale Citizen Group that he would not have billboards on the outside of the Americana. That is in the lawsuit, that he stated that. So I guess if I had a few bucks, maybe I'd be going back to court on that. Also, that he wouldn't close streets. Anyway, back to something better for the holidays. They're coming up, and we need to keep our thoughts on a lot of our veterans that are in hospitals here in America and overseas, and our troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. They will be away from their families. And just remember, if you would like to donate items, you know, things such as, that I hadn't thought of, flip-flops that can be used as shower shoes, shaving items, lip balm where they suffer a lot of course, dry skin and so forth, whatever. There are groups that do send items. Now, this is from the Blue Star Mothers of America, and this was online. My friend couldn't get any more information, but they do send them these items. They make up packages. You can get the names of individual troops and send them boxes, and it is available for people to do that. And these Blue Star Mothers groups do it. The email that one of the girls was Krista, and her phone number is 619-518-8260. So just keep in mind that these things that we take for granted are more than luxuries. They're necessities for these guys over there. And whether you're for the war or against it has nothing to do with it. These guys serving are doing it for you and I, so that we don't end up with the terrorists over here. And just please remember that, and keep your donations, or give your donations whenever you can. Thank you very much for that. I have had several people call me and give me donations, and also the coupons from the Times on the weekend, clip them and give them to us, and that we make sure that they get over to the troops. And also for the families on base, they can use them too for all the items and get $1 off, $2. Some of them are doubled, which is a big help when you don't have a large income. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mike Mohill.
Mike Mohill, resident Glendale. Evening. You're lucky right now because I left my glasses at home, so I'm winging it tonight, so bear with me, okay? Headline news: Bank of America to seize McGuire Properties. A major developer is going belly up. and they have property here in Glendale too. Unfortunately, I'd read the highlights to you, but again, I left my glasses at home. But I'll leave this for the staff to read it. Okay? Headline news: from boom to bust. Pasadena, South Pasadena, Altadena, that whole Pasadena strip, Colorado Boulevard, Fair Oaks, Lake Avenue, busting. Headline news from last week: wide open space, 51 million square feet in the Southland. I bring this up again this evening because we just passed a bond last week for $28 million for the redevelopment agency. Mr. Starbird, Mr. Quintero, can you please tell the public how this bond works? Do we have staff right away start making plans and spending money? How does this work? What if the builders don't start building and we made all these beautiful plans and we spent millions of dollars on staff? Do we just file their work? Or do we get the money first? It's like, for example, you went ahead and you started building the adult center. I see it up. And then part of your package of last week for the redevelopment agency, I think it was like $9 or $7 million for the adult center. For the bond. I'm saying, excuse me, how do you go ahead and, I don't know about you, but when I buy something, I want to have money in the bank. I guess in the city of Glendale, you buy now and you pay for it later. Sounds like a government job. Mr. Draymond, you're in the private industry. How's your business doing?
Here to make a statement, there's no.
Well, Mr. Quintero, you're a business private industry. How's your business doing?
I'm retired.
Mr. Najarian, you're in the private industry. How is your business doing?
I spend all my time at City Council and the MTA.
Good.
It's not doing well.
That's right. Which one?
My private business.
Your private industry.
Yes. The City Council's doing great.
I bet they are. That $40,000 a year from the City Council. Mr. Starbird, how is your business doing? And Mr. Garcia, Mr. Zurin, and Mr. Hagani, how is your business doing? Have you taken any cuts? Out in movie land, we have 17.5% unemployment. And then you want us to go ahead and spend $28 million for bonds. Why don't you make it $128 million? Why stop? The more the merrier. Maybe the citizens of Glendale will finally go ahead come April 2011 and vote for some other people for city council who will watch our dollars. We're all the fiscal conservatives here. Are we all liberals up here? Spend and then pay later? Who are the conservatives in this group? People tell me, Najarian's a liberal, Draymond's a conservative. I said, you know what? I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican. You work for the city of Glendale. You watch my money. Don't watch labels of Democrats, Republicans. You're here. You're for me. I voted for you. I didn't vote for the union people. I'm a taxpayer. I'm living on Social Security. My wife took a hit on her salary and her medical, and the city employees of Glendale keep making more and more money. I have 55 more seconds. Mr. Draymond, please tell me, how is your business doing? Maybe you don't have a business anymore. Maybe you're out of business. You should be like Mr. Quintero, retired. I wonder how Mrs. Friedman's business doing. I know Mr. Weaver's doing very well. He's a government employee, retired, with a pension. Man, I wish I had a pension. All the pensioners should be right here. Okay, government pensioners, they're the best people. They work the hardest. Private industry people do nothing. When they cut, everybody fills in the slack. In government, no. I've been around the city. I don't see anybody busting their you-know-what. 10 more seconds, Mr. Draymond. How's your business? 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, that ends oral communications.
I don't want to use this information yet. It's going to be old news by next week.
Mr. Draymond.
Wowie kazowie. I think that's the technical term. Mr. Zern, the issue of the median, painted median, and Well, I'll throw the cigarette butt issue to you, too. What are our possibilities up there? And note the irony of the fact that usually we have people here telling us how we are actually discriminating against the residents of South Glendale by not tending to issues there and only tending to issues in North Glendale. This is a bit of a switch, but nonetheless...
Well, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Draymond, I didn't get Ms. Welling's email, but my office received a phone call from her about the medians, and so I dispatched staff out there. We cleaned up the medians and sprayed them. There was some vegetation. It is an asphalt median. I hadn't heard about the painted medians. These are not uncommon. I can't remember right offhand how those medians are painted up there, but most of the time medians in that case are painted two ways, with a solid line and a dashed line, which allows you to use it as a turn lane, especially if you're going to businesses on both sides of the street. Sometimes solid medians are prohibitive in getting across the street. So the median allows you to have a safe zone and take a left. I don't believe it's a double solid line, which then creates the impenetrable median, but I'll double check that. We also did some extra sweeping in the area, and we're checking for the litter issue. If additional containers need to be set out, we'll look at that as well. Obviously, future developments to make that area with landscape medians is a financial issue that we can certainly address in an upcoming CIP and see how our resources are spread and whether that's something we want to pursue. The cigarette butt issue I wasn't aware of. She mentioned she talked to Mr. Chapshin. My sense is there that you have the cutouts on the median for the pedestrians, and we are sweeping the streets, and that's just sort of an area where the butts get pushed into either by the traffic itself or by the street sweepers. So somewhere between Mr. Chapchin and I, either on the maintenance of the medians, or I can have somebody hand sweep those areas to try to get the cigarette butts looked after.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. City Manager, I've had several residents email me this link to KCBS and the issue with the traffic cameras. It causes some questions, and I'd like to know if we can at some meeting if we can address that issue.
We'll review it. I'm not familiar with it. We'll review it and bring you back an evaluation of it.
And then lastly, Mr. Mayor, I'm not generally in the habit of people coming to the dais and attempting to bait the council, but I guess that's everybody needs a hobby, and I guess that's Mr. Mohill's. Mr. Mohill, the answer is my job is that I work in photo preservation and in photo conservation. I teach classes, I teach apprentices, and I do private work for individuals, as you well know. So business is fine. And the reason it tends to be is because in tough times, difficult times, the things that tend to be most cherished and dear to people are their antique and old family photographs. And so that's a time they tend to want to have them restored. However, as someone who has been in the administration of a large pedestrian mall for many years in the past, I am well aware that, as you would say, times are very tough. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Jerry.
I would like to thank Carol Welling for coming down. It has been a while since we've seen her, and I thank her for raising those very cogent points. It was certainly nice hearing from her in person rather than her letters to the editor. I think I agree with her. Were I not conflicted on any decision on North Brand, I would wholeheartedly support her observations and her request for some upgrades on the median. But since I would be conflicted, should a vote ever come up, I will not make such comments.
Thank you, Mr. Najarian. Starting with the red light cameras, the crux that I got out of the report was that when people understand that those cameras are up there, they have a tendency to slam on the brakes. And so consequently, I guess there have been some rear enders because people say, oh my God, red light, I'm in the intersection, they slam on the brakes. That was about the only negative thing that I picked up from that report, but I'm looking forward to having red light cameras spread throughout the city. I think they're needed. I was also happy to see Carol Welling, and I do agree that that's an awfully wide avenue up there, up above Glen Oaks, and maybe someday we'll have enough money to spend a little effort to sort of green it, maybe put some trees in the... anyway, for sure we have to keep it clean. And then finally, to Mr. Mohill, you've been unusually agitated these past few weeks, Mr. Mohill. And today, as I spoke to the young people there at AT&T, all of my former skills were starting to come to the forefront, things I haven't said for a long time about careers and so forth. But in terms of the economy, you need to start listening to Warren Buffett. You need to watch CNBC.com. They've got the financial news, and you'll see in those reports from economists, from investors, from business people, literally across the globe, not just in the U.S., that once again, as I said earlier in the year, the sun's going to rise tomorrow, Mr. Mohill.
18%.
Yeah, we're in tough times. And remember, please be quiet or I'm going to have you removed. Remember, I worked in placements for 28 years, so I know about the cycles of the economy. It's not easy when you're unemployed or your significant other is unemployed. These are tough times, but sometimes I think you're a little too... I'm reading the same articles, by the way. I read those same articles. But anyway, I think you're a little too invested in doom and gloom, Mr. Mohill. I think we're going to get through this recession. Glendale is in actually much, much better shape than other cities here in California and throughout the country. So anyway, tune in to CNBC. Probably in the next few days there'll be an excellent, they'll rebroadcast an interview with Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. That'll give you a little optimism.
Thing on Discovery or History Channel?
And actually tonight, the Second World War in color on the History Channel. Very good series. Any other comments? Mr. Kosaki, any comments?
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn? We are adjourned.
The most important issue you did not address, how we have to